his
My,
computer. Okay.
my recollection is that we're at the paragraph at the bottom of page VIII.
Yeah, yeah, just a moment.
And
Yeah, is
can the
I
ideas and
yes,
practical implications, we're there.
I hear. I think it's here. Okay. I'm sorry. Just let me share the screen. I'm sorry.
Where it says, can the ideas and practical indications, we're there. Because
Yeah,
I was taking notes.
yeah.
Can the ideas, that's the one, Cornelia?
Yes.
Okay. Tilly, could you read that paragraph out loud for us?
Is you're mute, Tilly.
Is the world itself, or enough people in the world who can make a difference, ready to hear with new ears the forgotten wisdom of humankind offered in a language free of the opinions?
Where are you? I'm sorry. Where are you?
No,
Is
it says that she's
is
reading, and she started reading, but she wasn't muted, so she's in the middle.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm reading what Cornelia has highlighted there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Can you read the whole paragraph, Tilly, starting with can the ideas?
Can the ideas and practical indications contained in the Gospel of Philip and the other Nag Hammadi text be approached as something more than fascinating curiosities, far from the so-called mainstream of our culture's canons of knowledge and faith? Is the world itself, or enough people in the world who can make a difference, ready to hear with new ears the forgotten wisdom of humankind offered in a language free of the opinions and emotional associations that have decayed into illusory certainties and eviscerated moral sensibilities? You know, there was one thing that I came across that really jumped out at me. And let's see if I can find it.
Well, while you're looking, Tilly, do we want to hear it a second time in a different voice?
Yes. I can read it. Okay.
Yeah.
Can the ideas and practical indications contained in the Gospel of Philip and the other Nag Hammadi texts be approached as something more than fascinating curiosities, far from the so-called mainstream of our culture's canons of knowledge and faith? Is the world itself, or enough people in the world who can make a difference, ready to hear with new ears the forgotten wisdom of humankind offered in a language free of the opinions and emotional associations that have decayed into illusory certainties and eviscerated moral sensibilities?
Because of the length of these paragraphs, my feeling is twice is enough. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Tilly, did you find what you wanted to reference?
Yes, it's at the top of page 11. And what he says is, for this is one of the most important themes of the Gospel of Philip, The union of man and woman as revelation of the love of the Creator and Savior. And I think the reason why that jumped out at me had everything to do with Mary Magdalene.
Well, I relate that to the forgotten wisdom of humankind in this paragraph. Other words and association phrases in this paragraph that we want to highlight?
Yeah.
I think eviscerated moral sensibilities is pretty strong language.
Hear with new ears sounds reminiscent of Gospel of Thomas, doesn't it?
Yep.
The word eviscerated is interesting because to eviscerate literally means to remove the guts of, as when you eviscerate an animal prior to preparing it to be eaten, for example. So an eviscerated moral sensibility may be a suggestion of a moral sensibility that has lost its touch with the physical, if that's what he has in mind.
Illusory certainties reminds me of our polarized politics.
Yes. Our dualistic politics.
Yes. Other responses to this particular paragraph?
Yeah, for me, just is the first question just is reminds me just the experience that I had at the beginning of reading Philip. Like I was fascinated and with a lot of things that I didn't have idea. I was very curious about this gospel, and I never thought just how complicated and how you know I mean you need to have some kind of way of seeing things in different way in order to be able to be ready and hear what we need to hear. Okay.
One of the things that caught my imagination was the use of the forgotten wisdom of humankind, written in a language free of the opinions. Just experiencing Cynthia's writing and her emphasis on wisdom, I guess, is what really jumped out at me.
And I love to understand, or what is to hear with new ears? What is it? Is there a vibration that needs when we start to read the text? is there any vibrations or something that only the ears can capture that?
Do we feel ready to move to the next paragraph? Raul, would you read the next paragraph for us?
Did you want to say something? Yes, I'll be glad to. Perhaps such texts as the Gospel of Philip contain, necessarily in the form of symbolic language, a treasury of answers that we as individuals might have all but given up hope of finding. In a time when the role of religion in human life has become one of our world's most agonizing concerns, texts such as the Gnostic Gospels invite us to risk stepping back in a new way from many of our most cherished opinions, not only about the teaching and acts of Jesus, but about who and what we are as human beings. As this book indicates, it is in this specific new effort of separating from our own thoughts and feelings that an entirely unexpected source of hope may be glimpsed, both for ourselves and for our world.
Cornelia, would you be willing to read it a second time?
Perhaps such texts as the Gospel of Philip contain, necessarily in the form of symbolic language, a treasury of answers that we as individuals might have all but given up hope of finding. In a time when the role of religion in human life has become one of our world's most agonizing concerns, texts such as the Gnostic Gospels invite us to risk stepping back in a new way from many of our most cherished opinions, not only about the teaching and acts of Jesus, but about who and what we are as human beings. As this book indicates, it is in this specific new effort of separating from our own thoughts and feelings that an entirely unexpected source of hope may be glimpsed, both for ourselves and for the world. For our world.
How about words and phrases for this paragraph?
Symbolic language.
Treasury.
Treasury of answers.
Stepping back.
An entirely unexpected source of hope.
But given up hope of finding.
Who and what we are as human beings.
One of our world's most agonizing concerns.
Stepping back in a new way.
Reflections on this paragraph?
Well, I have one that I went with what it called my attention of, as this book indicates, it is in this specific new effort of separating from our own thoughts Gurdjieff uses the three centers. One is intellectual, so thoughts. The other one is feeling. But it invites us into an entirely unexpected source of hope that I don't know if it's the body, if that is the third center.
No, it's not the body. Okay? It's what just we read in the book of Mystical Hope. It's the experience of higher knowledge. It's something higher. It's something that is not in your mind. It's something that from outside of our being is transmitted, and we just make to materialize. It's a kind of energy, and just to make it, and you realize, but it's not from you. No, it's not from your head. And it's experience.
When he writes about the new effort of separating from our own thoughts and feelings, does he really mean separating from our thoughts and feelings, or does he mean separating from the ideas, the assumptions that we've built up in our heads over many years that we stubbornly cling to? That the assumption being that the new kind of wisdom will not be available to us until we have new thoughts and feelings. It's like that old saying, don't believe what you're thinking, right?
Both in the phrase stepping back and separating, there's that quality of some sort of gap, some sort of space that has to be available for the new.
So, what is it that wakes us up from contentment with the world as we inherited it from our childhoods? What is it that gives us the courage to say no to a lot of the suppositions about human life? And I guess the life of the world around us. What gives us, what do we need to have, we mean the collective we, in order to break our dependency on the world as we grew up knowing it? We can throw all the Gospels of Philip we want into our incoming mailboxes, but if we haven't learned how to break the tight grip of the old way of seeing things, we'll never be able to read the Gospel of Philip or any of the other wisdom stuff, any degree of understanding. Now, I would say, in terms of my own growing up, probably when things, the old ways that I grew up with, began to lose their grip was in the beginning of the end of my first marriage and all of the chaos that went along with that. That was probably part of it. And part of it was being with people who come out of very different life and cultural experience than I did. Now I hung on to the old stuff for a very long time, but that's when I think it began to lose its grip.
Barbara, I
asked
think, okay, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I asked the question because if others have had that experience of the sort of shock of something completely new in terms of life circumstances that we hadn't counted on, if that's what got us started into an openness to consider new things, then what does that say about the author of the Foreword's hope that this gospel might invite people back to a kind of wisdom that we'd long forgotten?
Well, I think, Barbara, you make me think why they are creating all this addiction to cell phones, to the children, to games. I had my nieces and my niece and nephew, my grandchildren, and see them play in the farm with animals and with the water, and suddenly they wanted to grab the iPad, but it's like an addiction, and that takes out for me. It's like they don't want us, I don't know who, to learn this wisdom, because this wisdom for me has a potential, its power.
So the iPad and all of the technological stuff, not all of it, but here we are using Zoom, so we have to be a little careful. But is it an addiction different from, but not unlike in its consequences, perhaps, addiction to the opioids takes over?
Exactly. It's not the cell phones are you are. I mean, I find them they're very good to certain things, but when they make me only see this and because it's my only my part of my head and part of my feeling that are in it's audio visual, let's say a little bit, but it doesn't allow me to feel to grab these sensations or vibrations or so it puts me in a movie and takes me to another place where they want us not to see the real what is happening in this part.
But there's a very significant part of each of us that does not want to see the real. And that's how technology comes to be, in part.
Can you say a little more, Marianne?
I'm just tracking that quality of wanting an escape from what is present, what is here, especially today. So it offers a kind of convenient distraction. And we're really good at creating entertaining distractions as human beings. We're partly, it's, I think, our appreciation for novelty that's built into the human system that ends up catching us in this way. That's a wondering, anyway.
I wanted to say something. I have a brother, the one that comes after me. He always says that if he's not connected, they will disconnect him in their job because he needs to be connected all the time to the cell phone, to whatever, and he's not. He needs to know where his kids are, and he's always looking to the cell phone. But it just reminded me of my mother when we had no cell phones. She used to say, "Something happened to your father," and I said, "But how do you know?" I can feel. I can. My mother could feel something, and there was no cell phones. There were no, but something now is in her time that today we just grab and we don't feel in our bodies what is coming. What
The next paragraph is a very long one. Do we want to tackle that one?
Yes. Okay.
what is
And I think just Barbara question will be answered with this paragraph. Okay.
Josefina, do you want to read this
Yeah, I
one?
can. Yeah, I can just. To begin to understand this text, we need to have a question and to question ourselves. That said, the issue then becomes not only what are our questions, but how do we ask them? How does it really mean to have a serious questions of the heart and to ask it from the whole of ourselves, or at least from the part of ourselves that is able to hear an answer? For one of the most remarkable aspects of spiritual knowledge in the ancient meaning of the term gnosis is that its answers can be fully received only in response to a real question, a real need. And it is no doubt true and also often forgotten that the inner meaning of all scripture, whether canonical or not, can be received only in the state of a spiritual need. If approached without this need or genuine state of questioning, texts such as the Gospel of Philip are likely to be either regarded at arm's length as mere scholarly and archaeological riddles or curiosities, or greedily appropriated as a fool for fantasies. The first step then toward a new kind of questioning, a new kind of knowing, is a step back into ourselves, apart from all that we think we know about ourselves. If there is such a thing as a transformational knowing, and this is the true meaning of the term gnosis, its first stage is the inner act of not knowing.
Beautiful.
phrases, words that we want to highlight?
Need to have a question.
Gnosis.
Serious question of the heart.
The inner act of not knowing.
The inner meaning of all scripture, whether canonical or not, can be received only in the state of a spiritual need. Transformational knowing.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I wonder if when we started reading the Gospel of Philip, that we didn't get it. And we didn't get it because we didn't have a question from the heart before reading it.
I'm in a bit of a quandary. You guys can maybe help me. I had made arrangements to spend time with a friend. She's gotten confused about the time. I was very explicit saying I was busy for this hour and a half, but she just arrived.
It's okay. Don't worry.
Would someone else be willing? I don't want to just leave her sitting by herself for 35 minutes. Would someone else be okay with picking up? I'm sorry.
A question, Marianne.
He wants to get her to talk quiet.
Well, I know that. But no, my question is, if your friend would want to sit here with us, I'm very happy to have her come and be here. It might be boring for her, and it might hook her into thinking about an inner act of not knowing or something.
I don't think it would work for
Okay.
several reasons. But thank you for welcoming her.
It's okay, Marianne. I will be able to lead the
All right,
just to in order to be able to finish. So don't worry. Just you have your friend. Just go ahead and just.
Sorry for the mix-up, guys.
It's okay. Don't worry. Okay.
All right.
See you next week. Okay. So it's okay. I don't know, Barbara, if you received some kind of insights with this a paragraph about all your questions that you did before? Do you feel that in some way you received some kind of answers?
Well, I think that I'm pretty much in the habit now of being open to discovering new things. What I was really thinking about when I asked the question before is if our culture is going to be able to move out of the places where it is so stuck. What will it take for the culture to begin to wake up and ask deeper questions? I don't have any specific questions at the moment, but I'm certainly aware of all the not knowing. So I'm open to considering what pops up.
Okay.
You know, the phrase that jumped out at me out of this paragraph was, and this is the true meaning of the term gnosis. Its first stage is the inner act of not knowing.
Steve, are you able to read
Sure, yeah.
the next paragraph?
And that begins with which words is it again?
In his beautiful and courage, this paragraph, if you are able to read it.
Is that the one beginning with to begin to understand this text?
No, it's the one with in his beautiful and courageous introduction.
Here.
All right, it's a short one, but I'll read it. In his beautiful and courageous introduction to the Gospel of Philip, Jean-Yves Leloup concludes by saying, I have articulated some of the questions raised by this Gospel. I have never pretended to have the answers to these questions. Yet he goes on to add that this must not lead me to deny the nearness of a source that is capable of satisfying the thirst for these answers. Should I read the next paragraph too?
No, just probably we need to read the paragraph a second time, just for having some insights. And okay. Raul, don't you mind if read the paragraph second time?
In his beautiful and courageous introduction to the Gospel of Philip, Jean-Yves Leloup concludes by saying, I've articulated some of the questions raised by this Gospel. I've never pretended to have the answers to these questions. Yet he goes on to add that this must not lead me to deny the nearness of a source that is capable of satisfying the thirst for these answers.
Some words or phrases or something that just...
The nearness of a source.
I have articulated some of the questions raised by this gospel.
This must not lead me to deny the nearness of a source.
I'm intrigued by the choice of words capable of satisfying the thirst for these answers.
I was.
Something. Yeah, go ahead, Cornelia.
You.
No, go ahead.
No, I know that I'm listening to Cynthia's Bourgeois second body class, and this what you said, Raul, called my attention of with the thirst that is capable of satisfying the thirst. That means that for me there is a substance, there is something that goes through my body that feeds. And in Cynthia's, it's the fruit of the spirit, the 9 fruit of the spirit are the substances that feed us. And I don't know if this nearness of a source that is capable of satisfying the thirst of these answers, the third, because there's something when I'm thirsty, my body feels something, but I need to take a substance for that.
I want to mention that just when I got the book the first time and open, and I was really surprised about just the amount of commentaries. Commentary, not the introduction, and no commentaries at all. And I say, what? And I think this the loop is giving us a plate full of questions. So we depend of our level of maturity, we can get the answer. Okay, which is he's helping us with the questions. Probably just I don't know exactly, but just when we start reading the introduction, we will be just more aware of them. But seems like
I see it in the same way that when we read the last time, Jacob Needleman was talking about preparing this ground. We need to prepare our ground in order to read it. That is what I'm sensing. In order to capture what he was saying about this inner freedom and the power of love, but from allegory, myth, and symbol.
something that just strikes me, just that there is a source capable of satisfying the thirst of these answers. Steve, do you want to read the next paragraph?
Sure. He does not dare to name that source. But as we turn the pages of the text itself, we may begin to sense numerous indications of its nature in the bittersweet state of self-questioning that this gospel can evoke. Under Jean-Yves Leloup's hand, we are guided to both the known and the unknown in ourselves and in our understanding of the Christian teaching. Bittersweet, wow.
Tilly, do you read the paragraph again? You need to unmute.
Steve just finished?
Yeah.
Okay. He does not dare to name that source, but as we turn the pages of the text itself, we may begin to sense numerous indications of its nature in the bittersweet state of self-questioning that this gospel can evoke. Under Jean-Yves Leloup's hand, we are guided to both the known and the unknown in ourselves and in our understanding of the Christian teaching.
I don't know, because I felt like a confrontation, provocative. Is the reaction that I had at this moment. Just
I'm staying with what is a bittersweet state.
One that's both pleasant and unpleasant?
I'll back up for a moment. Josefina,
yeah, okay.
I like the known and the unknown in ourselves and in our understanding of the Christian teaching. And trying to figure out where bittersweet fits into that, or having some idea where bittersweet can fit into that. Okay, that was it. Thank you.
For me, bittersweet is what happened at the point of something that I thought I knew maybe isn't the way that I thought I knew it. So it's bittersweet. Bitter because I thought it was where I needed to be. Sweet because maybe it's going to grow into something else, but it's not comfortable necessarily being in this in-between place of not having settled in the new spot yet.
Is bittersweet the plant? Yeah. Josefina.
Yeah.
Cordelia, this might help. There's a plant called bittersweet, which was brought to the United States years ago I don't know from where. As an ornamental plant. The problem is there's no stopping bittersweet. And it grows everywhere. And in the fall, it has gorgeous red berries, and the leaves turn very pretty colors and decorates trees, and is also capable of strangling trees because the vines grow so large and so tall and so long. And the birds are very attracted to the red berries and spread the stuff everywhere. And there's nothing to control the spread of the plant. So its presence is a bittersweet event. It's very aptly named, very appropriately named.
Under Jean Leloup's hand, we are guided to both the known and unknown in ourselves and in our understanding of the Christian teaching. And sometimes the Christian teaching is very intractable. It doesn't want to give an inch. So it feels like fighting the 2,000-year history of the church when you say, I don't agree with how this is being presented. Or I don't understand this. My understanding of, well, pick up Mary of Magdala again as an example here. She's been squashed quite thoroughly in traditional Christian teaching. And to challenge that is to get as Raul says, to get squashed along with her. I think I mentioned to you that our previous rector said in answer to some questions that people were asking about the Gospel of Thomas, said, don't bother to read it. He said everything that's covered in the Gospel of Thomas is in the canonical Gospels, and it's just stuff. Just don't bother.
Do we go to the next? Barbara, do you want to read the next?
Sure. Concerning our relationship to the teachings of Christianity, Leloup invites us to regard this hitherto hidden and secret text as pointing to the hidden or subconscious teachings of Christianity, in the sense that what is ontologically subconscious in human life is what secretly influences and directs that which we call our consciousness. This is to be contrasted with the well-known, or in this limited sense of the word, conscious canonical Gospels, under the light of which, in Leloup's words, the Church originally staked a claim, so to speak, on the entire territory of Christianity, fencing in a land that was originally open and free.
What is it? Stake a claim? That
I'm sorry, Cornelia, are
What
you
is staking claim?
A stake?
make the
A
claim?
stake at a claim?
means this is the way it is.
Oh,
I
okay.
say this is how it is, and you agree with me because I've got the power.
In the United States manifest destiny, this continent belongs to us. No matter what, no matter who else is here, it is our land and we're going to take it over.
It's not just that it's our land, it's that God gave this land to us white people. And part of the reason why God gave this land to us white people is because we need to convert all the other people who are here, either convert them to Christianity the way we understand it, or else lop off their heads, one way or the other.
Thank you.
Because we are God's chosen race.
Absolutely. That's
Thanks.
staking a claim, Tilly. That's Cornelia staking a big claim.
Claiming that something is yours, just, Columbus, I claim this land for Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand.
So in the
That was
how
political commentary, sorry.
we use the word, just to contrast it with the end of the sentence, legally, to stake a claim is to say, this land from this rock going east, however far it is, to the next huge tree, turning the corner going north, to the next big rock, and finishing up with some kind of square. This is the claim that I've staked because I've literally put stakes in all the corners. So everything in between this is mine. And that was honored in the legal stuff of how our part of our country got set. As opposed to, so the end of that sentence is fencing in a land that was originally open and free. So it would refer to how in the beginning there were many ways of understanding who Jesus was and what his life and ministry meant.
You know, Jamie and I had the chance to go to a concert of Martha Redbone. And it turns out that she is Chickasaw and from Kentucky. And the university where she did this concert actually invited people to hear her speak. And she talked about the question of identity because she identifies it as Native American and as African American. And so, she was talking about all of this. And one of the things that came up was what makes the land so important to indigenous people. And what makes it so important is that the ancestors have been buried there. And so the land is sacred. And the indigenous people did not want to have to leave that land where their ancestors were buried.
That's one of the concerns now with Ukraine. That
Yep.
Russian soldiers have now died on Ukrainian soil, and that Russia's not going to abandon that soil because Russian blood has been spilt there.
Well, if you get a chance to hear her music, I would commend it to you. She's quite talented and a really amazing storyteller in her singing.
And
Tilly,
what's the first name? Martha?
Martha
Martha Redbone.
Redbone.
It would be interesting to know. I mean, we are all from the West, all of us represented here, and know the church from the West. But I'm really curious. I know nothing about it. in the beginning, when the entire territory of Christianity was originally open and free, some of the apostles went to the east, and I don't know anything about the kind of Christianity that evolved there in terms of the cultures of the people of the East. My guess is that it's very, very different from the kind of culture of Christianity that evolved here in the West. But I don't know anything about it.
But I think, Barbara, that is what we're going to experience or learn with this. Because I have find that the church, in a certain way, in my experience, I see that that when we had to go to confession, we had to confess. We it's like the priest being the stock of the claim. I mean, I could only go until there. If I had something given from above, he wouldn't let me cross that boundary. The knowledge of that, and that's why I don't like that part of the confession because of that. Because it doesn't if I received something more, they wouldn't let me, or in times I was burned or whatever, I would be burned, or and they could only be the messengers between God and me, and me. And I think part of this stocked are them. They don't allow us to go more deep, or cross the line.
What comes to my mind is just that Jesus, in the area where he grew up, he had a lot of influence of all the Eastern religions at that time, and he was with a lot of influence. I mean, just even just the concept of unity, of the connection to the spiritual life, completely is at his time was a lot of, they have a lot of similarities, and he was teaching wisdom. And at the end, when Christianity just started forming as a religion, what I noticed just that part of spirituality was lost, because you need some kind of evolution to understand it. If not, you need to put everything in a frame where you can control. And that is the way I understand of what happened with Christianity. Just and we feel like constrained, because we lost something. Okay. And
You know, in Israel, you have the Eastern Orthodox, you have the Russian Orthodox, you have all of these different religions, and they all have the attitude that they're in control of that space in Jerusalem. And I think that's kind of what both of you are talking about. My girlfriend and I were we were going to go to one church, and we paid money for the candles so we could light candles. And there were women in this church who didn't want to let us do that. We both had scarves, so we were wearing, we were paying, we were trying to honor what the expectation was, that you would be covered and that you would respect the space. And it was interesting that we were questioned about doing that. And we were grateful that we had tour guides who could translate for us, because we didn't have any idea what was going on.
I don't know, but just there is something is about this, that the text as pointing to the hidden of subconscious teachings of Christianity, in the sense that what is ontological subconscious in human life is what secretly influence and direct that which we call our consciousness. I don't know, I have a question mark.
So what it means, I don't get it either.
Okay.
But I'm also feeling like it's 4:30 and I've run out of my ability.
I am sorry. I didn't realize at 4:30. I'm sorry. Okay.
One more comment.
Yeah, we can come back to this, and if we can read a little bit and just have but I think there is something that we need to find here about this. Okay.
If I don't say this now, I may never say it.
Yeah.
Is the author of the foreword saying? Come on, say it. That these Gnostic Gospels are the foundation of our canonical Gospels, and by ignoring them, we're undercutting the foundations of the Gnostic of the canonical Gospels. Again, I'm seeing him referring to the Gnostic Gospels, maybe Philip in particular, as the hidden or subconscious teachings of Christianity. And just like our subconscious influences what our consciousness does, that these Gnostic Gospels influence what our canonical Gospels do. That's it. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, well,
I don't follow that, so I would like us to start with this.
We cannot hear Barbara.
I said I would like us to be able to start with this paragraph again next week, because
Okay.
I think that I don't have a great deal of clarity about it, and I would like to understand it better.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. We'll keep
Can I
it
ask you a
here.
question?
Yeah.
Are we going to start reading the Gospel of Philip soon? Because right now, all we're reading is someone's commentary on the translation that was done. It's we're kind of like 2 steps removed from the text itself, and I'm kind of hungry for confronting the text.
Well, Steve, when we started reading the text, we were a little bit lost, and
Oh,
we are reading the foreword and then the
okay.
introduction, so we can have like preparing a ground for what is being
Okay.
hidden in that text, because it says it's all in allegorical and symbolic language, myth, that only our right brain can capture. And maybe that's why when we started reading, we were out of, we were
Okay.
not, like, it's like they are preparing us. So when we start reading it, then we will understand more.
So we're being
That's with a
prepared.
heart.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's our hope.
Yeah.
Listen. Yeah. Anyway. Well,
Thank you, Josefina.
thank you. And I just properly record, so I will send to the people, and we'll try to just next week have just like a little piece of, and you will see what happened. No, there is the understanding of the text is really needs some kind of preparation of what is going on. Okay, so anyway, thank you for coming, and see you next week. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Oh.